I'm back again today because, I don't have anybody to talk to today. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I don't. I talked to my cat earlier, but he didn't say too much back. But anyway, no, I was thinking about something while I was mowing the grass earlier. Yeah, I mowed the grass with a three-wheeled lawnmower, mind you, because one wheel fell off and I don't have the money to go buy a new lawnmower, so I'm just mowing with. Hey, it works. Everybody laughs at me in the neighborhood, but nobody's buying me a lawnmower, so they can shut up. But something I thought about though, I recently went to a friend of mine's funeral, and I haven't had many friends die in my lifetime, especially ones that I'm really, really close with. And I don't mean that like, oh, it was my best friend. I'm talking about my friend Robert Hughes. He wasn't like my best friend, but he was a close friend because I worked with him almost daily, and then ended up being in the Lions Club with him. I sponsored him to be in the Lions Club, and we did community service together. And he was always encouraging to me in some of my toughest times in TV. You know, I'd be so frustrated and down about things going on in the promotions department and stuff, and he would always just give me great advice and be really cool to me. And just in general, he was just really a good guy in general. And he was a lot older than me. I want to say he was like 69 when he died a couple weeks ago. Um, and sometimes you think, oh, well, that's unusual. A guy's like 30 something years old and he's friends with, a guy that's almost 70. It's like, well, not really. He's an elder. And I try to respect my elders. I know that might be corny, but it's the truth. And, and, I guess you kind of say kind of like a grandfather figure. I don't want to go that far and be too cheesy or whatnot. But I mean, you can learn off old folks' wisdom. And sorry, Robert, I didn't mean to call you an old folk, but anyway, I some of you know that I grew up in the tombstone industry as a kid. My parents had a tombstone company and monument company, to be a little more professional about it. But it was an interesting life growing up in cemeteries as a kid and stuff, and it was also a lot. But anyway, something though that I never had any experience with, and I don't really like breaking things up into categories like this, like, oh, this is black, this is white. But I mean, sometimes there are things like that in life. Our cultures and stuff like that differ in certain ways. Well, obviously, I've been to quite a few white funerals in my lifetime. And, they're all sad and everybody's crying. And people say stuff like, oh, we need to remember the good times and stuff. And you do. But still, in general, it's kind of this just really sadness, and it's understandable. You miss that person, you're hurt that they're gone, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not downing on those funerals, but I really honestly learned something from Robert's funeral. His funeral was, they wanted it to be a celebration of his life, and as a Christian man, again, you always at funerals and stuff, you realize that it's not the end, and you'll see them again, and they're in a better place and all that. And some people may say, "Oh, that sounds corny." It might sound corny, but it's the truth. Have y'all looked around lately? I think I would much rather. I got to be careful with this. Heaven would be super awesome to be in right now versus Earth, because Earth is full of corruption, crazy people, murderers. I mean, it's got a lot of good stuff too. Like, I'm not gonna say that. But there's lots of good things on Earth as well. But anyway, it is true that they're in a better place, and you will see them again. But going back to the whole, black funeral, hate to do that, but it's true. It's different than most white funerals I've been to. It was literally a celebration of his life. And the pastor was like just throwing out awesome scriptures and just saying, don't be sad, Robert has finally made it. He's finally there. He has completed his mission. And like I couldn't help but, I was one of the first people there. Not bragging about that, but I just, I got there early. I try to be early to anything I'm going to, especially when I'm honoring a friend. And I got there before any of the family or anything, and was sitting in there with Robert in his casket for like a good 10-15 minutes before anybody else. It was kind of strange, but at the same time, it felt cool because I felt like I was honoring my friend with that time. I felt like that 15 minutes was something that I could just kind of meditate and think about Robert and the cool things he did for me and the good friend he was. But again, going back to when the funeral started, it was just awesome because the preacher and everybody was so excited, and they were linking scripture to the things that he was saying, and it just got you hyped up. And I was sitting out there, and I was all, teary eyed at first, and then the more the preacher talked about it, I started getting hyped up, and I was like, yeah, yeah, he is in heaven, he is doing good, he's made it, yeah, yeah, I'm getting all hyped up. And it was just I feel like, and I hate talking in general like this, but this is the only way you can say it. I feel like white people could learn a thing or two from black people when it comes to funerals. I mean, we could all learn a lot from each other in many different aspects, but funerals specifically, what an awesome experience it was. I came out of there happy. I mean, in a way, you're not happy that your friend is gone, but you feel relieved. You're like, he's gone, but he's not forgotten. And I took a lot out of there too. And one thing that's helped me recently, even with this YouTube channel, is the preacher said Robert chose to be happy. He chose to be happy. Robert didn't always have great days. I saw Robert on bad days. And, I saw Robert getting frustrated just like any human does. But the preacher was right. Robert chose to be happy. No matter what was going on, he chose the right path. And so lately, when I've been getting frustrated about things or whatever's going on in my life, I think back to that. It was just a few weeks ago, so obviously it's kind of easy to remember at this point, and I hope I never forget it. But again, choose to be happy. Choose to be, joyful and appreciative. And again, I'm telling you, when I die, I want it to be not a white funeral, not a black funeral, not any color funeral. I just want it to be a funeral, but I want it to be a party. I mean, I want everybody leaving out of there. Of course, I hope none of my friends and family have to see that. I hope, maybe we all go at the same time or something. I don't know. But I don't want anybody to be sad like that. But if I do die before my friends and family, I really do want to party. I mean, that just made me feel great, going in there and the preacher saying the things he said, and the family saying the things they said. I mean, even his wife got up and said something really powerful. She made her children come up front, her and Robert's children, and she was like, I want y'all to look around, look at all these people, look at all the people that your father has had an impact on, and never forget their faces, and realize that they came out to support him and love him and show their respect. Never forget these people's faces. And you could tell that their kids were like looking around and like memorizing it in their head. And like I said, it was just super powerful. And again, I feel like it's something that, I think it's a beautiful thing how all of our cultures have crossed. Yes, there's been a lot of bad, but there's always going to be bad in this world. I mean, there's been bad since the beginning. Cain killed Abel. So, I mean, it's never going to end until we get to heaven. Then it's not going to be bad. But it's beautiful how our cultures have crossed and the things we can learn from each other. And again, I'm telling you, we need to we white folks could learn a thing or two about funerals from black folks, because it was very positive and uplifting. Now, so anyway, I felt like talking about that because it was on my mind, and I'm doing this whole video log thing, and yeah, so yeah, there we go, folks. And those of you watching, I hope I've tickled your fancy. All right, I'm gonna go eat some chicken.